So, another Saturday night and taking it to the nub. I'm your host, Boston Jimmy. And that guy over there, that's my co-host, Q.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, Q?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm okay, except our guest seems to be a little late tonight, so we're going to chop it up a little until Luciano is able to join us. Meanwhile, you were just talking to me about something earlier that, I found quite interesting because I've done this experiment myself with other cigars, but why don't you show the audience what you've got and I'll spotlight you here.
Absolutely, Jimmy. So what I have here are three different bands and three different wrapper. It's a wrapper leaf, a filler leaf, and a binder leaf. And this is what the Undercrown tin is made out of at your local retailers. So some of the special retailers, I believe it is only the Drew Diplomat retailers that received the special box that has the three different color leaves in there, or the three different color blends. Right at on the side of the box, you can actually pick them up and smoke exactly what the UC10 is comprised of. So you'll see you've got a red, a blue, and a yellow. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the red is a San Andreas leaf. That's this. I'm actually going to fire this up first and get the nuances of what the actual UC10 by Drew Estate is actually made out of. So the red band is San Andreas. The blue band is Connecticut Broadleaf, which we had an opportunity to go to the Connecticut Broadleaf farm at the Barn Smoker. So that is this one. That is literally Connecticut Broadleaf from the same farm that we visited. Right there, Jimmy.
Let me ask you a question. So you're going to start this off, you said, with the wrapper?
I am.
I would start off with, I'd be interested to start it off with the filler and just see what that's giving you without any of that wrapper or binder on it. Just because that's going to be the raw taste.
Right? So you're saying go with the filler leaf? I
would go with that because that's the raw ingredient in the center. All right.
Okay.
And you're putting a binder and a wrapper on to add the dimension to it. And that's going to add dimension to the others too. But if I did that, and then I say, well, now, what would I wrap this with? And what would that binder give me? And actually, when you get into it, you probably want to eventually have them all lit at one point and smoke all the smoke in at the same time.
You know, Jimmy, that's why you're the GOAT, you know? That's why you're the GOAT. That's why there's me and then there's you.
Yeah, just giving you my thoughts of how I've done it.
And then Jimmy cleans it up.
I'm just saying what I would do.
So let's do it.
Where did you? So does every shop carry these that carry Drew Estate? Is there how's that work? How does somebody get their hands on that package?
From what I understand from inside sources, that only the Drew Diplomat retailers have the special pack that have the cigars on the left and the what do they call these, Jimmy? I know there's a special word for them, and I know you know, but I don't know the name right off the top of it.
Fumas?
Yes. Right to the right, you'll see that they have them laid out for you to actually take. Now, it looks like just decoration. But
they're not for sale?
No, they don't sell them. There's no retail.
You just take
you can
them
take them. Now, I'm pretty sure there's some retailers out there that are trying to make a buck off of, but that's not included in the price.
That's not the intent of Drew Estate. The intent of Drew Estate then is to let the consumers actually go through the experience that a Willie Herrera would have gone through.
That's exactly right.
Just so, what was his sensations as he was smoking through these different fumas and saying, how is this going to blend together? All right.
So far, with this initial light, I'm getting a lot of cocoa on the front end. A lot of cocoa. That nice, rich, dark chocolate right on the front of the palate it's obvious. No pepper, no nothing.
That's just pure leaf right there. That's just the filler. And what fillers are those?
They actually don't give I'm pretty sure you could look it up, but on the box they don't give a exact description of what the filler. It just says filler leaves.
Okay.
They do get specific with the San Andreas wrapper and the Connecticut binder.
Okay.
But they don't get specific with what the filler leaf is comprised of.
Basically, if you have a Drew Diplomat retailer, you could probably go there if they're carrying that. Check it out. Try to do what Q's doing. If you're an Underground 10 fan, as I know many people are, it's worth doing an experiment like that. It's really a lot of fun. Truly understand it. Here comes Luciano. All right. We'll bring in our guest right now. Welcome, my friend. How are you today, Luciano? Wait for his audio to connect.
In progress.
There we go.
Hello
How
there.
are you? Hey, Luciano, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well. My apologies because I was a little confused with the time difference. So I'm kind of 10 minutes from my office.
Okay.
We'll probably have a better connection. But good to see you, Jimmy. Good to meet your show. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you for my car.
we have fill capability to when guests are have run into any issues. So we were just chopping it up about football and other things. But welcome and thank you for joining. There's an echo in the background, but that's probably something.
Yeah, I can try to fix it here.
Yeah, don't worry about it. When you go in the office, it'll get fixed.
Yeah, that's gonna take about 10 minutes, but we can talk.
Well, let me break the ice for this evening.
Okay.
A while back, you and I got together and talked about and started to help a mission that you've put together in Jalapa for the farmhands and their families. Can you give me an update and the guests and the viewers an update on where that mission is and what's been going on? Because that was a really, really important point in my life when I realized what you were saying.
Of course. Jimmy, I think you know us a little bit. You know me. You know that for us, people comes first, and I wouldn't be in this business if it wasn't for the reason that we are focusing really trying to improve the lives of people that are around us, our neighbors, right? So what a factory in all our farms and what we do in Jalapa is to always to put people first. A few years ago, we identified a very serious issue in Jalapa. There was a lot of kids with special needs, a lot of families that needed to take care of these kids, and the mom could not work, so just the father would work. These places, they don't have daycare, they don't have really a definitive solution for education for these kids and support for the parents.
And I just put up the article that was written. So how's Elias doing?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. Elias, unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. So he was, when we found him, he was in a very kind of difficult, he was completely undernourished and had a lot of different diseases. And it's tough to talk about it, but it was a big loss for all of us. You know, when we found him, unfortunately, uh, he was not, it was too late. So, but we do have, you know, hundreds of examples of people that we are able to support. But it's not about how good we are or what we do. It's about people having the conscious that, you know, their lives involved in this process, their lives involved in the cigar manufacturing, that we should pay attention to. And unfortunately, I think if everybody would, you know, do their part, we wouldn't have cases like Elias, you know. But the truth is, not just, I may not even talk about the tobacco industry, but all the other industries that are around. Unfortunately, you know, people just don't make enough money to survive. So we try to create policies that are permanent, that can really impact and change the lives of people. And we try to help people. They're not our employees, but we see a necessity. And this myself as a human being, and my wife as well as friends, and we do what we can. But all those families that we when we launched the awareness about Jalapa, all those families, we still support them, and we are just kind of doing our job, not really. I think I told you this before. I hate when there's some sort of connection between social work and brands. You know, I don't think people should buy a cigar because a company is helping someone. I think everybody should be conscious that there are human beings in the other side of this industry.
So from the time you started that, have you gotten additional support from others in the industry? Have people rallied with you? Some probably didn't, but
That, you know, I'm almost there. I'm almost at the office. I don't know how the connection is.
I don't know if you heard that question.
I don't think I heard. What was the question?
I was asking, so with that mission, did you get some additional support from other members in the industry over time? Did anybody come to the rallying call with you? I know some probably didn't, but did you at least get some more support and interest in doing the right thing?
Okay, Jimmy, give me 1 second.
All right, well,
Let me
we'll
get
come
to,
back to that question when Luciano gets in his office. We'll continue this.
You know, if anybody understands Luciano's pain, Jimmy, you know it's your handy dandy co-host here. I'm always on the go, so I understand the man's frustration.
I hear you.
Sometimes things just don't go the way you want them to go. You're on different time zones. You look up and you're like, oh crap, is it 6:45 Eastern and you're in the Central or Pacific, whatever it is, it happens.
Doing that from Europe to the US, sometimes that's confusing. Japan was easy because it was 12 hours. it was 12 o'clock at night, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, right? It was very simple calculation. But you know, when you're dealing with 9 hours, then you gotta start doing math in your head. It's not quite calculus, but it's still math. So
everything is calculus to us non-computer engineer guys like you, Jimmy. If it wasn't for a calculator, I would probably have been out of this game a long time.
You just use a slide rule. You know what that is?
Probably if you told me about it, yes, I probably, oh, that's what they call it, the slide.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys can hear me now, but
yeah, I can. Very loud too. Wow.
Good.
Yeah, man.
Good. Finally.
There we go.
So I didn't hear the question, Jimmy, the last question.
Okay. So let me ask that question again. Now you settled in. So with the mission, okay, you started this a couple of years ago. Things were, we raised some money, we helped out, a lot of other people helped out. Did you get any big names in the industry coming to join the mission with you? Or, I'm sure some didn't, they had their own things they were going to do, but did you get at least some people to come to the rallying call for what's going on?
Yeah, actually, again, there's a lot of very, very good people in this industry, and I can tell you that not just one, but the several. And I think there are amazing works that are being done by people like Adele, Placencia, Drew State, Jonathan Drew. There's so many people that are doing a great job in terms of not just taking care of their own employees by paying a fair wage, but also by extending their hands to the community. I think there's several companies doing that, and I'm very, very happy that, again, it was never the intention to present ourselves as the guys who are bringing solutions. There's no like really short-term solutions to what's happening right now in the entire world. It's just saying that we're gonna try to eradicate hunger. Of course, everybody wants to do that, but if everyone could do their part and do one thing, and I'm glad, what we did, what we do, inspire other people, and that's the whole reason why I'm in this business, anyways.
Now, I don't want to get deep into the white rhino of flurries of press releases that came out.
Wait, Jimmy, there's such a thing called a white rhino?
No, well, it's a rare thing that happens sometimes, and I'm just calling it that because it is what it is. But I want to add, I know you had a show the other night. You went into, I think, a lot of depth. And I'm sure people, if they want to get answers, they can watch that show. But I want to ask you a question. You rebranded as part of your press release. You rebranded from Ace Prime and Pichardo to Luciano Cigars. Why Luciano? I know it's your name, but why didn't you keep the Pichardo name?
So it's an interesting question, Jimmy. You have to understand that the decisions that are made at my company are not just made by me. I might be the major shareholder, but I have actually a style of conducting my business, as well as I have a partner, which is Tiago Splitter. I have
Ball
a lot of,
player?
Yes, the basketball player.
exactly, and I have also, yeah, I have a lot of very good people and capable people supporting us, our marketing team um, and all the professionals that are involved in our company. So what we did, we knew like 4-5 months ago that the having our own distribution would be inevitable. So what we did, one of our associates, who is actually VP of a very large PR company in the country, ran a research. And in that research, he found that all our brands were more connected with the name Luciano than to Ace Prime. So they did a research, went to several stores, also digital and online impressions, and they found out that people sometimes they had no idea what Ace Prime was, but they knew what Luciano was, what Fiat Lux was. They knew what MXS, so they recognized the brands, but they had a hard time to connect with the holding, the Ace Prime brand.
I will tell you, Luciano, if I can cut you off for one hot second, Luciano is definitely a much cooler name than Ace Prime. Go a lot with Luciano than Ace Prime. You could be like, let's smoke a Luciano.
So yeah, so it was purely a business decision based on scientific research. So the research proved to us that those brands are more connected with the name Luciano than with Ace Prime. So because of that, we got this specific, recommendation to go that route, and that was we made that decision. Also because again, we always thought about the day that we will have to announce that we are not distributing with our previous partners anymore, that we're going to go with our own distribution. And I think it was we always thought that it would be much better to announce the rebranding and the independent distribution together. This will be a little more upbeat, and I think people get way more excited than you just delivering the news that, the empty news of, oh, they don't distribute with them anymore, they're going to have their own distribution. So I think the message is way more important. I think the message that's way more important right now is that we are applying a lot of our energy and investments into creating this vertical company from seed to the cigar, to the shelf, and we're going to take care of that distribution in a very creative way.
Okay.
So what we want to do is really provide a customer service, a client experience, and we're using technology to do that as well as we're hiring a lot of let's call it high profile names or people that are very well known in the industry to participate of this project. So that's the reason. I think it's purely a business marketing decision.
So from that business decision, just let me ask, did you consider guys like me that now have to go into my website and retag all of these articles and fix my menus so that people can find Luciano Cigars? I mean, did you guys figured out that that's a lot
Did
of
we
work?
lose
involved?
Jimmy?
I think we lost Jimmy.
Can you
Oh,
hear
there
me
he's
now?
back. There
I
we
said,
go.
did you
There we go. We
consider
got you.
did you consider the media guys that actually have to go in and change everything now on their website to tag it properly to Luciano Cigars? I mean, it's just a little guy, but we got a lot of
Hey,
work to do.
I'll tell you this. It not just affects you. For us, it is a new starting point too. If you
Mhm.
think about it, of course, you have more the connection of the brand Luciano with everything that we do was way more present than the other brands, and that's why we chose that way. But we knew that, especially at the beginning, we would have this issues, But it's amazing how since the announcement, we also ran some software just to see how the public, the industry, the consumers were perceiving this change, and the positivity is just kind of in your face, like it's undeniable that it's really working. So people recognize more, and people are excited about the new products we were bringing in. People are excited to the fact that we are going to distribute our own products. I think the excitement is way more noticed than anything else.
Yeah, and I just got to take the time here for 1 second to tell Jay Riggs, I'm not crying or whining. I'm doing a typical New York ball busting. Okay. My job's not that hard. Okay. Luciano's got a bigger job. He's got to rebrand everything.
Yeah, but we're excited, Jimmy. Very, very excited and happy. And happy that we can count on partners like you too, from the media that have been kind of watching our journey, seeing what we've been doing, on all fronts. So we're very grateful to. I'm not crying or whining, on all fronts. So
Got that echo again. Yeah. All right. Let me take a quick break. Let me knock out the sponsors here for the show. When we come back, let's dig into what Luciano, the cigar company, is about to bring to the consumer. And you could talk a little bit about maybe some things new that you might have on a cooker, maybe what your thoughts are. So kind of let's see how we could spice up the consumer base with even better knowledge of the product. So today's show is brought to you by our friends at Cigar Medics.
Before you light your next cigar, be sure to check out Cigar Medics, the makers of the patent-approved humidimeter. The humidimeter is a tool designed to display the relative humidity inside your cigar. With this device, there's no more guessing. Simply insert the probes into the foot or cap of your cigar, and you can instantly know if your cigar is ready to be smoked. Buy now on cigarmedics.com and see site for other cigar accessories. With the humidimeter, you'll know when to hold them and know when to smoke them.
And I have my own humidimeter, and I tell you, I use it a lot. You'd be surprised what you could find out about when using that. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Drew Estate.
Get ready, because Drew Estate is back and better than ever, with a party so big that only the Lone Star State can contain it. Music, spirits, mouth-watering barbecue, cigars galore, and so much more. It'll be the most epic shindig there ever was. Barnsmoker presents Savage Feast, October 22nd at the South Fork Ranch, Dallas, Texas. Get your tickets now at barnsmoker.com.
Yeah, you want to kind of get to that Savage Feast if you can. But I don't know if there are tickets available, but you can definitely check it out. They may still be out there. Who knows? It's going to be a blast of an event. I'll be there if you're there. So look me up and look up Q also. He'll be there too. And we'll be doing it.
Jimmy, less than a month away, baby.
Yes, sir. Today's show is also brought to you by Bocock Brothers Cigars. Bocock Brothers Cigars is a new and active brand founded by two Honduran brothers, Bryant and Douglas Bocock. The brand zeroes in on those folks that are looking for easy-to-smoke cigars inspired by unusual circumstances. Very, very importantly named after the very interesting and imitable last name, Bocock. Right now, you can check Bocock out at bocockbrothers.com. And they are featuring their signature edition cigar, which you've seen my review on. So you could check that out. See if you could find a retailer near you to try out their line. Today's show is also brought to you by Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. They like to say the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship go into the crafting of each Platinum Nova cigar, resulting in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. This work is a dedication and a tribute and an honor to their grandfather to always remember him as his love for cigars, as a dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So the next time you're looking for an exquisite cigar experience, pick up a Platinum Nova. You can check them out at www.novacigar.com and then Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter channels. And lastly, our show today is brought to you by Rodriguez Cigars of Key West. The year was 1947, and the Rodriguez family began the masterful art of cultivating tobacco on their private plantation in the town of Saguane, Cuba. Of course, in 1952, they employed over 20 workers who grew over 120,000 pounds of tobacco. By 1960, the Cuban government nationalized their plantation, and the family was forced to immigrate to the United States. They found a new home in Key West, Florida in 1971 and founded the Rodriguez Cigar Factory in 1984, which stands as the oldest cigar manufacturer in the Florida Keys. And that's preserving the historical cigar manufacturing industry that began in Key West in 1831. If you get down to Rodriguez Cigars, I highly recommend it, and take the $15 tour. You'll get to learn all about the Key West cigar manufacturing from the 1800s to present, and you'll be able to actually bunch and roll your own cigar to take away as a memento. So with that, let's come back to Luciano. Okay, you can unmute now.
Here I am.
All right, so let's talk Luciano Cigars now. So we're moving away. Ace Prime's going to go disappear off my site. We're going to have Luciano Cigars on there. You've got the distribute. Everything is all under one umbrella now. I take it. The factory, the cigars, the distribution, the farms.
That's correct. The farms as well.
So complete.
We are naming the
shelf.
farm. Yeah, we never named the farm, so now we start naming them. So we have like a farm that we're gonna name Maria Lucia, which is one of the cigars that we launched. So we're gonna be, naming the farms too, just so people know where the tobacco is coming from, and just to create that kind of, integrated feeling as well. But yeah, everything's gonna be under the brand Luciano Cigars, and that's our distribution, that's our manufacturing, that's our brand. Everything is gonna be connected with Luciano Cigars.
So one of the cigars that you created most recently, not most, but pretty recently, was the Fiat Lux.
Yes.
Now that hit it out of the ballpark.
By the way, I have the new samples of the Sears Fiat Lux that I'm actually, not just the Fiat Lux, but the Dreamer. So they're all at my table here, and we've been smoking them the entire week, to see how the tobacco is behaving over time and make sure that we keep the same consistency. Yeah. So Fiat Lux, you asked me about.
So that Fiat Lux, when I talked to you about it, and I think I was one of the first ones to smoke it before you actually put the band on it. And you explained to me the special qualities of that cigar and how you blended it to make your palate salivate. It was more saliva, more flavor. Can you explain that to the audience, what you explained to me?
Yeah, of course. I remember that was a TPE, and I remember handing you out my last sample of that cigar, and we made a little experience. I told you that if you smoke that cigar, the cigar you had in your hands will taste different as well, right? So it's important to understand, and this is something that sometimes people don't pay attention to. You only perceive fully the flavor of anything if you salivate. So some of your taste buds, especially the ones that are connected more into your upper palate, they don't require much salivation because they are connected with your smell as well. But everything else, like under your tongue or the size of your cheeks where we produce saliva, those are very important sensors that actually enable you to understand and perceive flavor. Without salivation, you cannot taste food. Without salivation, you cannot even taste drinks. Even liquids cannot be tasted if you are not salivating. And that's a principle. Actually, any serious cigar blender, he's always looking for salivation, always looking for your mouth to produce saliva. So opens your taste buds. Now you can perceive the flavors. This is actually what every blender, should be pursuing. What happened with Fiat Lux is that created an excessive salivation. It makes you salivate more in a very different way. So you salivate, but it's a pleasant saliva that you naturally just kind of, keep swallowing it. It's not like something you want to spill it. It's something that's pleasant. It's a type of saliva that cleans your palate. And that's caused by just a reaction of minerals, Like if you put a little bit of baking soda in your under your tongue, you're gonna excessively salivate nonstop. If you put a little bit of salt, you're gonna have that effect as well. So how can you create that effect where you're gonna salivate a little more with a cigar? You have to find the combination of certain minerals that will cause that salivation, and that's what we do with Fiat Lux. So we use a lot of the salinity that's present on the Sumatra, and that reacts with another mineral called magnesium, which is very present in the soils here in Nicaragua. So when you combine these two, the reaction is salivation. Like if you make just a puro from Esteli, there's a lot of magnesium, so you get a little bit of that sweetness, but it's always goes away. So you always need to drink something or use another element to open your taste buds so you can perceive that flavor. If you do just 100%, tobacco that has more concentration of magnesium. So the whole idea behind the Fiat Lux was really to create a cigar that would provoke more salivation than normal, and that would give an experience of transitions that you normally wouldn't get in a cigar. Because as you salivate, you change in the pH of your saliva. So the more you salivate, the more alkaline your saliva becomes. So now your palate is a little more sensitive to perceive other flavors. So you probably notice that the transitions in a cigar usually are transitions of strength, not transitions of flavor. Our brain tricks us many times, and we think it's a transition of flavor, but actually is parts of cigars that have more humidity that alters how we perceive that flavor. But mainly the transition is in strength. In the Fiat Lux, you feel that the transitions are more into the flavor, but why you feel that's more transitions? Not because the tobacco is different or the construction have different tobaccos, placed in different orders. It's because actually you salivate more. Because you salivate more, the way you're going to perceive flavors will be different when you're halfway to the cigar or you were, 3/4 of the cigar. Because now you're salivating for a long period of time, your saliva became a little more alkaline. Now you're perceiving different flavors that you wouldn't perceive if it wasn't for that factor.
Q, got a question? Thank you for that answer, Luciano.
That's really deep. 'Cause I never took the time to pay attention to how it can change or alter your flavor versus your flavor senses. So that's really interesting that you point that out about the flat lux and how you have blended that to basically excite those glands that produce that salivation. That's really interesting.
You know what's cool is our brain is so amazing. Not only our brains are capable of producing this different enzymes and make you salivate more or change the acid of your palate. Sometimes, if you notice, when you're going to eat something, you have the nose, the smell, right? So you smell the food and you feel like, I can perceive some garlic here, some onions, there's some flavors. But then when you put the first food in your mouth, you feel a little bit of the flavors, but suddenly on the second time that you put the food in your mouth, that's when you fully perceive the flavor. Because especially if the food is unknown, that's the first time you're going to eat that, or someone is cooking for you, you don't know exactly what to expect. So usually it needs for you to kind of first try, and then your brain, start making you salivate more, and now you perceive fully what the flavors of that food is. Or sometimes our brains are so amazing that you can just imagine a flavor. If you concentrate well and you imagine a flavor, you can also salivate. And a good example is when people try to eat an apple, bite the apple, and sometimes they kind of spit saliva. They haven't even felt the flavor of the apple yet, but they're already salivating.
They're
Because they know
anticipating
what
it.
the flavor is going to taste like once they put
Yes.
it out. So that's why our senses are so important in how we perceive flavor. And the idea behind the Fiat Lux, of course, was to create a new experience on salivation, therefore new experience of flavors.
So Lou Piscatelli asked, when you were going through the discussion of Fiat Lux and talking about how you do minerals and things and how it adds to the salivation, he wants to know, is that what would be considered umami?
Yeah, so not necessarily. I mean, again, from a more empiric opinion, right? I'm not a scientist, but I do study these things. The way our brain perceives flavors comes from let's say two groups of receptors in our mouth that is decoded in a way to our brain, so now our brains can understand what that flavor is. So they are divided in basically two types. One, it's by electrical impulse. It's called the ionic taste buds. That's what prevents you from burning your internal organs. Like you're drinking a drink right now. If it was too cold and you didn't have those taste buds, you could actually, burn by freezing your internal organs. Let's say if it's too cold, or you could burn yourself with a hot drink if it wasn't for this taste buds, or eat a spicy food that's too spicy and they're going to create blisters in your mouth. And so those ionic taste buds are responsible for that. Now there's another type of taste buds which requires your body to produce, requires you to salivate, requires your body to produce an enzyme. That enzyme covers the biomatter, the food, the smoke, whatever you put in your mouth. And then with that reaction of the enzyme with your tongue or with your cheeks or the tissue of your mouth, it's what will create a reaction that you identify what umami is, what saltiness or sweetness, or there are flavors in between that as well. There are many flavors in between it. But the most recognized ones that are classified by, by science, by tasters, is the umami, salty, sweet, sour. So there's a group of 4 or 5 flavors, but it's so much. I mean, there's so many nuances, and some people, again, I think there was a little polemic about this when someone published, I think it was, I don't know if it was a Facebook group, I don't remember, but someone asked that question. He said, like, could anyone blend a cigar? Or could anyone? My answer is, yeah, anyone can blend a cigar. Anyone can blend a cigar, of course. But as some people have some natural traits, right? I can actually practice, and I love basketball. I can practice all my life. I'll never be a professional basketball player because I don't have the height, I don't have the speed, I don't have the muscle composition, I don't have the bone composition. It's not in my DNA. I just cannot be a professional basketball player, period.
But you got the ball head like a lot of the professional basketball players, though.
Yeah, but can you jump? Can you jump?
This is important. But this is an important point. I'm using the basketball player. It could be a tennis player. It could be a weightlifter. I mean, there are things that we all could do everything, but some people will, exceed. Like it's only one Michael Jordan. It's just one Kevin Durant. There is like, if you count it in your hands of, maybe hundreds of thousands of basketball players. That's only a few that are that are in the league, they are in the NBA, and it's only a few that will actually highlight in the NBA. And it's just a few. There's opportunities, of course. There's other elements, but that same principle applies to everything. I mean, how many Michelin star chefs there is in the world? How many? But sometimes people think like, okay, I'm going to just create a cigar company. I'm going to become a blender. And they call themselves blender. I think a master blender is something that no one could ever call himself one. You're never going to hear from my mouth that I'm a master blender. I'll never say that. This is a title that other people give to you, not you give to yourself.
True.
So so that's why I believe there are people that are a little more sensitive, that they can perceive, there are more frequencies that they can perceive. So a good friend of mine, Skip Martin, said, well, but what's the importance of you hearing these frequencies that only dolphins hear, but humans don't hear? So therefore, what's the reason, what does it matter, right? So anyone can make it. Here's my answer. Many times I walk into a restaurant that has Michelin stars, and there's this chef who's being acclaimed, and people talk about that specific dish, and I ask for that dish, and then when I put it in my mouth, I don't know how to explain. I actually don't even know how to identify all the frequencies. I just feel like something, it's magical. It's something happening that I can't explain. I can't put into words. I can actually even perceive completely, but you feel that so overwhelming in terms of, like, you feel so good about it. So a good chef, in my opinion, as a good blender, is when people don't need to hear all the frequencies, but when they put that cigar in their mouth, when they put that food in their mouth, they know that something magical, that something special happened, because someone else is thinking that. Someone else is thinking that. I can ride a freaking airplane in first class and enjoy the ride. and enjoy the temperature of the air conditioning and the speed that I go and get to a place. And I don't need to be a fucking engineer, airplane engineer. There's this other guy who has that brain who can put the airplane together for me to ride. So that's
right.
my answer, you know.
So speaking of putting things together, what's your latest projects that you're looking to unleash on the consumer now or in a year from now? Do you have some cool
Yeah.
projects you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, we do have some very cool projects coming. Of course, it's part of it's part of the game. So we don't want to, of course, go ahead and release names of brands and what it is, but we do have a lot of things coming up. I think one of the cool things you guys will see this year is some of private labels that I used to care before, just manufacture for. Some of these private labels are becoming in-house labels. They're becoming cigars that will be part of our portfolio. And I think people will be very excited about that because we are expanding sizes, we are creating new products under those brands. And so there'll be some very kind of cool things coming still 2022. We do have lined up already all the new blends and brands that we're going to be launching next year as well. And they have a whole team working on it. The blends are done. So it's a pretty cool it's a pretty cool forecast. I gotta say, I mean, I'm this whole rebranding and the launch of our own distribution is being almost like I don't know, a cleanse, reset, a new adventure. So I am extremely excited, and so are the people that are on board with me.
I'm like smoking the original Luciano.
Oh, there you go.
All right. That's probably been in my cabinet for over a year. And
Hey.
That's
as
good.
good
Is this
good
the
as not.
Lancero? What size is it?
This is the Corona.
The Corona. Okay.
Jimmy,
Cool.
can I do something real quick?
Absolutely.
So we normally don't send a shout out to our all the time listeners that we have, but I just wanted to take a little time out, send a shout out to Lou Piscatelli of the Commish Pero, Robert Day. They're chiming in. Appreciate you guys for all the comments. They definitely, we couldn't do the show without you guys, so I definitely wanted to take a little time out to say thank you guys for chiming in. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Of course, without them, this show doesn't happen. So thank you very much. And I think I saw on the feed, Lou Piscatelli actually mentioned that he put his palate profile into Cigar Sense. And one of the top 10 recommendations, 2 of them were Luciano Cigars, the Fiat Lux, and another. So just by putting in your palate, they're telling you what you should be smoking. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So when you look at where you've been and where you're going, was this all part of a plan in your book, or did things shift and change and cause you to make changes in your business model, or did you have a master plan laid out as you went forward?
No, I can't say there was like I'm not a guy that can say, I planned this, 2 years, 5 years ahead. I mean, we can make some plans, but here's what a principle that I've learned in life. Nobody taught me this. This was my own experience. When we get too tight with some plans, you lose opportunities because you think there's no other option. Like when you set sometimes plans, like, this is what I want to be. I want to, be with this guys here doing this forever. And then I'll build this house. And in my life experience, sometimes, you receive some business opportunities and you have to consider them and you have to be, liquid sometimes. So I consider myself someone that's liquid. What I do have is, when I'm very sure about something, let's say I see 3D, or if you believe in God, you had a dream and God spoken to you, and said, this is what you should do. when that type of thing happen, convictions, let's call convictions. Sometimes when I have a conviction of something and I commit, let's say I commit to you, Jimmy, that will be in your show, 5 times a year, you bet I'll be there, So I love to, I always fulfill my word. If I tell you,
Yes, you do.
I'll do it. So I do have some plans and some commitments that I did that I know. I mean, I knew that I should invest in this company and make this company grow, like 10 years ago. And I wasn't sure about launching our own brands. This was just a manufacturing, the farming side. When we launched the brands, I felt like this is the time. This is what we should do. This is the plan that we should follow. Then the strategic partnership with our previous partners. Then moving. So those are decisions that we make sometimes, a year before, 6 months before, sometimes 5 years before. It all depends. But I can tell you there was no master plan. I mean, I can go far. About the distribution, I can go as far as maybe 8 months. That's when we started really thinking about it. We look at how the brands were performing, and we see like, hey, listen, some of these brands are performing. The volume is growing, so the natural consequence, natural path is definitely by creating our own distribution. Then you start thinking about the branding and everything else.
So with the farms that you've obviously invested money in by caring and taking care of the hands, what would you say the top 2 or 3 leaf varieties that you're growing and curing that will show up in cigars, say in 2.5, 3 years from now are?
Oh, we don't have anything like, the only thing new that we have. So we never grew Esteli before. Well, it's all the other regions in Nicaragua we've been growing, but not in Esteli. So last year was our first year in Esteli. So what will happen this year is that for the first time, I'm gonna use an Esteli that I fermented myself, that we grew ourselves. I think that would be interesting, thing. And we've been trying this tobacco, on a daily basis almost, to see how the tobacco is aging, how it's behaving. So I think next year it would be quite interesting because this tobacco is just coming out amazing, and we're very happy with the results. Very, very happy with the fermentation process that we are using. So I think that's the new thing. It's probably using our own Esteli, but everything else, we're pretty much consistent, pretty much consistent. Of course, there's new blends, there's some interesting things. I start working a lot with double binders, etc. So that's kind of what I did on some of the projects that I did for Osner Family and for Crown Head. So I started using double binder a little more, changing construction a little bit.
What is a double binder for the audience? What does a double binder do for a cigar? Other than
a binder, it says in its name, a binder is what binds everything together, right? In the construction of the cigar, usually, especially in Nicaragua, they use only one binder, which is one leaf that kind of holds all the bunch, and then the wrapper. So what we do, instead of using one leaf to hold the bunch, we use 2. So that will give you just a different experience on combustion as well. So if I use double binder, I'm not going to use too much of the seco outside. I'm going to use more viso inside, so you can build a little more, flavorful, robust taste profiles. When you use just one binder, you are a little limited because you need one more seco outside to kind of help with the combustion, especially if the binder is too thick. So again, it's just a methodology that helps also with the experience for the cigar smoker.
Thank you. That's a good answer. I always wondered about the double binder. I know the double binder I felt would give you a little more flavor, but I thought it would come from more the binder leaves themselves, having 2 of them instead of 1.
Also help with the look. So when you use a double binder, for some reason, you get a more perfect cylinder too. That's why most of the old Cuban method of building cigars always had two binders. It just gives a little more perfection on the construction. The cylinder is a little, for some reason, when you put in a press, and then when you wrap, it's almost like it has a little more structure to the cigar.
Q, you had a question.
I did. I was actually going to chime in for one of our listeners. Commish Pero wanted to know, are you going to be doing factory tours?
Absolutely. We always did. I'll tease you something. We are looking into another expansion, so we might be moving to a bigger facility. It is, we always do informally tours, so we never do like safaris or things like that. But, you know, sometimes we have some people from the media that wants to come and see it, or sometimes, you know, some of our best retailers, we try to kind of bring them over, or just friends. I mean, we've been doing all the time. There's always people visiting here. Right now in the city, I think there's about 3 or 4 gringos here. They're here right now. And I do have something. We launched a promotion during the PCA trade show to some of our to our retailers. If they bought a certain package of cigars, they will have actually this trip all paid to Nicaragua. So we're gonna, although this was done under our previous partners agreement, we will honor and we'll pay for all the expenses for people who kind of want that, you know, the trip here. And we're going to be doing more of this too. And actually, I'm not afraid to say whoever wants to come in and visit is more than welcome. We just have to arrange, and, you know, and usually what we do, we take care and we take care of the stay, and people just have to fly in.
Yeah, very nice. I'll have to keep that registered in my brain.
Absolutely.
I had to
You-
get down and work on my tan.
You can work on your tan. That's right. There you go. Let me take a quick break. I want to go through what's new in news and reviews on Stogie Press this week. And it was kind of a busy week, so I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. So this week, I got through actually 4 reviews this week, starting with the Ohana Pulse. Now, Ohana, owned by Frank Ryan Rodriguez down in Texas, and he had this out for a while. He's kind of went to a new factory, so these are coming out of new factories and a higher grade leaf. So I'm putting out new reviews on his line. He doesn't have a new cigar yet, but the Ohana Pulse, I always liked. This one came in. I give the edge to the new one a little bit. This is a really nice cigar. It actually is. Hear a bunch of beeps. So this cigar has got a San Andreas wrapper with Nicaraguan binders and fillers, and it had a really nice profile with butter and cinnamon, cocoa, coffee, cream, fruit. So it really had a really, I mean, you could just see it just had a really nice transitioning through the whole cigar. So excellent cigar, $10. You could check it out. I know that the Underground Cigar Shop carries these. I also took a look at a cigar which some people may not be familiar with, called Never Ash Cigars. Never Ash Cigars is actually made at the William Ventura factory. This is the newest one, the 815. And the 815 is a Ecuadorian Habano, an Ecuadorian Sumatra, and a Dominican filler. This one too actually surprised me. It gave me more flavor than I thought that was going to come out of that. It burned well. It was nicely rolled. Had a beautiful ash on it, beautiful ash cone. So beautiful burn, very pleasant cigar. I'm not going to dig it hard on anything. Next one was, well, the Aganorsa leaf, Maduro. So this is the one that was the anniversario that they came out with now and made it a full production line. This is a great cigar. I mean, it just is. I mean, I don't have to get into any detail. Anybody that smoked this will probably agree with me. This has got a Nicaraguan shade-grown Corojo Maduro on it, a Nicaraguan binder and Nicaraguan filler. So think of this as a Nicaraguan Puro with a punch, okay? And it just was absolutely stellar. I completely enjoyed this cigar. Nice burn cone. I guess the only thing I actually ding this on from a point, the ash drops a little too much for me. It was like an inch, not even an inch, and it would drop. So, of course, that's one of my parameters. I have to take a point off for that. And then lastly, I took a look at the Sancho Panza. This is the second Sancho Panza I looked at. These are the revamped Sancho Panzas now with Matt Booth working over at General. He is helping to rebrand this and rebirth the Sancho Panza line. This one came in at a 91. This is a Honduran cigar. It's got an Ecuadorian Sumatra sun-grown wrapper, a Nicaraguan Esteli binder, and a Dominican and Nicaraguan filler. I find it interesting there's no Honduran tobacco in this at all, since it's made in Honduras. So it had a mild profile. It kind of was cedar and citrus and cream, and there was some natural sweetness and a little peppery and savory spice at the end. It was a pleasant cigar. $7.49. Hey man, pick some up, check them out. On the news wires, a lot of news. You're going to see some more things coming out of Southern Draw. Southern Draw is going through their fall 2022 releases. The first one they come out with here now is called the Boss Lady, which is a 9x48 Grand Corona. So if you like the Desert Rose, now you have a whole new Vitola to check it out in. And they also came out with a Desert Rose Perfecto. So you could check those out. Continuing with some more of the general stuff, they keep coming out with press releases. They come out with what's called the Buffalo Trace Special F. This is actually being done in Buffalo Trace barrels. So you can, if you like Buffalo Trace, you're going to get a hint of that for sure in this cigar. Southern Drawer also announced the new Jacob's Ladder Brimstone Perfecto as a regular production. Okay, so they're big on these Perfectos. This is a broadleaf, USA broadleaf binder and wrapper, along with Nicaraguan Corojo 98 and Corojo 99. They also announced new Lonsdale packaging, so they put the Lonsdale in these new boxes, which are their new signature boxes. Cordova and Meirelles, another company that some people may not have heard of. They are a local Central Florida company here. I've known them for a number of years. They have now come out with a new one called the Nika Reaper. And the Nika Reaper, you'll be able to get at Cigar Hustler right now, and then eventually they're going to be moving them out after the release party for this. So the release party is going to be next Friday at Cigar Hustler over in Deltona, Florida. Crown Heads announced their 4 Kicks Capra Special, the Lancero LE 2022. An Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, a Nicaraguan binder, Nicaraguan Dominican fillers. You can check that out. There's only 30,000 of these being made, so they're $11.95 in 12-count boxes. And then Cafe 1901. Cafe has updated the Liga de Casa bundles now. So they had these bundled cigars. So they now have 100% long fillers. So they've changed the blend, working with the Aurora factory that they're working with. So that should be something new and different, even though it's old, maybe call it old, new, different. And of course, we just talked about Luciano rebranding to Ace Prime rebranding to Luciano Cigars. So that's the news and reviews. Don't forget, if you go to Taking It to the Nub, we have last week's show with Risty on now. It's archived over in the YouTube channel, so you could click here to check that out. And with that, we'll go back to Luciano. We lost him. Where'd he go? Wait, now that I'm stuck without the guest, we can go back to what we were briefly talking about until Luciano joins us back. You were talking football at the beginning of the show. I haven't checked the Canes score. What is the Canes score? How bad did my Canes get beat today?
You know, Jimmy, I'm gonna get you that score. But in the meantime, I know I'm gonna touch on something that you are passionate about. What do you think of Albert Pujols joining the 700 Club?
I think that is magnificent.
one of only 4 players.
Congratulations to Alex Pujols. I don't think A-Rod ever makes it to 700. Not A-Rod, Judge. I don't think Judge ever makes it to 700.
He's gonna make it to 700 million before he makes it to 700 home runs.
Yeah. I don't think he gets 700 home runs. That's, because he had some injury years and stuff that backed him up on those numbers. So, I mean, he's not getting any younger now. So, I don't know.
True that.
We'll see.
True that.
See.
He's definitely not getting any
fans-
younger.
My Yankee fans will probably be chiming in, calling me all kinds of names, but what can I say? It is what it is. I'm not sure what happened to Luciano. Maybe he had a lightning strike like I had last week. Learned the tricks of the trade.
Let's see here. So we have a 45-31 final score. Middle Tennessee State.
They actually scored some touchdowns in the end, but they didn't. Their defense fell apart. Fantastic.
They did. They gave up 45 points to an unranked Middle Tennessee State University.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't see the Canes being ranked after this week. I think
they definitely won't be.
They're definitely out of the top 25 now.
And so will Texas. Texas is going to fall out of the top 25. They lost to Texas Tech today.
Yeah. And that's sad too, because you're only 4 games into the season, and what ends up happening now is the players are like, they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
They're not exactly playing football.
Yeah. The only thing you're really playing for now is you hope that you can maybe squeeze into an ACC championship game.
Right.
That's what you're hoping for. You're hoping that some of these other teams just have crap seasons, and you're like, hey, 2 losses don't look that bad. Some other scores. We have Tennessee beat Florida.
How'd Vandy
Notre Dame.
do?
I know
Vandy's playing Alabama right now, right?
Let's check and see.
I think Vanderbilt's playing Alabama.
Ohio State, Wisconsin, FAU, Purdue. It's not scrolling across yet, but I'm pretty sure you're right. But I know we always have a whole bunch of Notre Dame fans out there. So for the Notre Dame fans out there, 45-32, they beat North Carolina on the road today.
Alabama's up 7-3 with about 2 minutes left in the first quarter. So, okay, Vanderbilt's at least got 3 points on the board.
I know we got some Penn State fans in the building. So Penn State beat Central Michigan today. I'm a Clemson guy. Clemson squeezed out a terrible win, 51-45 in a double overtime thriller at Wake Forest. And then you've got the wonderful Charlotte 49ers and the South Carolina Gamecocks, and that sleeper of a game. It is 7-3.
So Robert Day just chimed in and said, this is why they should not rank until the 5th game. For the most part, most teams in the first game or two are tune-up games. They're usually the games they're supposed to win, so does it really matter, the first 2? The third one's supposed to be something a little more challenging. And depending on your conference and what you're playing, it could be complicated and tough even from game 1. But I don't disagree with Robert's assertion. Just start your rankings, but not that, because why would you give somebody a ranking preseason as number 1 with all the hope and worth? So,
I'm
if they
50-50 on that.
Well, but if they maintain, if they come out as number 1 preseason and they win 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 and win, okay, they're still number 1. But if number 2 comes out of the gate and they win, I guess maybe they might have to meet each other, maybe not. Why are they not both number 1?
I don't disagree with the statements. Here's what I will say to just shine a light on something else as to why they put out the rankings prior to the 5th week or the 3rd week of the season, is that not every conference is privy to being able to schedule a whole bunch of cupcake games. And that's kind of the big discussion on the NCAA level right now is, you know, you've got some of these schools like the Alabamas and stuff like that, that they can schedule a quote unquote tune-up game. You know, they can
Yeah.
play the Southeast Missouri states and the different things like that. But for teams that don't have a conference championship game, they're not always given that opportunity. So they kind of have to start off, you know, week 1 with a banger. And then
Right.
a lot of it has to do with TV rankings. Let's not forget what moves the needle at the end of the day is so that when you put up that big marquee and you can say number 1 versus number 2, so-and-so, such and such, to open up your week, and you can sell out the Mercedes-Benz Dome because you've got number 1 versus number 5 or 2 versus 7. It has to do with exposure and being able to say, we think that right now, week 1, your team has a chance. They might be shit, but while we have the opportunity to sell out this stadium and get all this money, we're going to do it. So we're going to say your team is number 1, even though they may not be worth a top 25 ranking. They're going to do it so that they can move the needle.
Oh, by the way, Lou Piscatelli says this is like Sports Center. I said, no, I can't say that. This is Stogie Press Sports Circle. This is the Stogie Press Sports Circle. By the way, Luciano just texted me. Yeah, he did have a power outage. He's trying to reconnect to LTE. It's about to be dark in the house.
He had a power outage. Wow. Okay.
What are you gonna do? I mean, this is live shows. This is what happens. So why don't we just we're kind of waiting for Luciano. Let's just open it up. Let's bring people in, man. Let's just I'm gonna go push this out into the Facebook feed right now. Anybody wants to come on, join the show. Luciano joins back in. You guys can ask your own questions, and we can make it all happen. So let me just go to where the show is.
Go the big story of the week, the huge story of the week. Even though I would like to move off of sports, 2 of the hugest stories in the country right now happen to be revolved around sports people. Brett Favre and his laundering money from the welfare fund to get my alma mater, Southern Miss, a new volleyball stadium is huge.
Wow.
And secondly, you had the Boston Celtics head coach who got suspended for a year for a affair behind the scenes with another team executive.
I saw that. And that's, I mean, there comes a point in life, guys, that you can't mix the two together. There's ethics, this thing. You just can't let human desire take over. You have a job to do. There's people focusing on you. The optics are bad. I mean, just do your job. And I mean, I get it. You know, love is love until it's no longer love.